Welcome back, everyone. Today we're going to be talking about the Punisher Ride. It's a race that took place August 26, 2017 in a small town called Eden, Utah. It's a little east of Ogden. This race was held in place of the tour of Park City, but that one, I guess, as far as I understand, was canceled for some permit issues. So the race organizers put this one together instead. It's essentially an out and back course, the shorter course being 75 miles with about 8,000 feet of climbing, and the longer course 116 miles with about 11,000 feet of climbing. I raced the category 4-5 event, but our group was mixed in with one of the Masters categories, which put our whole racing group at about 25 or so riders. Going into this, I had plans of really keeping the group under control because it was going to be so small. I like smaller groups because it's a little easier to tell what's going on, and you have a better chance of kind of recognizing the threats. But with the addition of the Masters categories, things changed for me right away. I found out that the Masters were joining us just a few minutes before we started the event. Anyway, let's get into the racing. At this point, we have just exited the neutral area of the start of the race, and it is totally flat and really no wind to speak of. So the speed picks up, and we start moving. It's pretty much going to be a single pace line the entire way up to the lower slopes of the first climb, which goes up to Monte Cristo. So rather uneventful first few miles of the course. Just so you know what you're looking at here, upper right hand corner has the course map. The lower corner on the right has the RPMs and my heart rate. The lower center is actually incorrect. That was the distance, but it was synced incorrectly, so just ignore that. And the lower left has the speed, the grade of the road, the elevation that we're at, and the power. So just so you can have some data to look at as this is going on. Jumping up the road a little bit here, I have had some riders come around me, and I'm a little too far back for my own comfort, so I decided to move up. Again, this is a mixed category race, so a lot of these riders are, in fact, all of them in front of me are all Masters riders, so not really, like, it doesn't really matter because I am not going to be scored with them, but, you know, it's nice to be in the front of the groups just so you can see any moves that go off. Just because I'm not racing against all of these riders does not mean I don't want to ride with them. What we're going to see here is a rider come up from behind, and he's chasing down a gap that's opened up here in the front. The gap didn't come from any attack, if I recall. It's just kind of riders letting the wheel slip, and I don't know if they were having hard times or whatever. I know we've been losing riders up this climb, but you know, there's no real reason for these gaps to open up the way they have this early on. Anyway, I go with this group because I've looked behind and noticed that there is a good chunk of the field following that guy in the green that went by. And I don't really want to lose this group because it's so early on. And I still want to work with them, but I'm definitely not going to help up the pace at this point. I think one category, 4 or 5, he went up there and did push it a little bit harder earlier, but other than that, those in my category have been, in my opinion, racing pretty smart, just kind of sitting on the wheel, just paying attention to any others in our category going by. So right now we're a little bit further up the climb. It takes quite a while to go up this dang thing. Anyways, the two riders right in front of me are in my category. They're both younger riders, probably under the age of 18 for sure. And right here, I'm signaling myself that I'm third, just in my category, kind of giving myself a little reminder for the video after. And what's going on here is there's been the pace is being pushed up front and by that guy in green, and he's pulled off. And something that you get used to in the higher roads of Utah is roadkill. So you can see we're kind of pointing that out right now. There's a nice splattered deer. I probably saw 6 dead porcupine on this road up to the turnaround, and a handful of deer. Anyway, these two younger riders are pushing the pace now, and this guy here in the white pulls off. I think his name's Vigo, and this younger kid here takes a look back and sees that the field's kind of hurting. I'm sitting there at 170 beats per minute, so he decides to get out of the saddle and give it more of a dig. He, obviously has been training. He's a pretty light kid. He's got a power meter, I know, because he comments about the power to me when I come up to him here, kind of saying how much it's take to drop the field, but I quickly remind him that he's maybe 100 pounds lighter than the rest of us. Anyway, yeah, these two riders did great. They actually ended up doing really well in the finish. The one in white that went back there, Vigo, he uh, he will, I think, take third in this race. Anyway, the kids just pulled off, and I've decided not to keep pushing the pace. I'm hurting here, as you can see from my heart rate, and I don't really know what to expect on this climb. It makes me a little uncomfortable because I don't know what's coming. I've never been anywhere near this road, and I know that Powder Mountain is an incredibly hard climb from what everyone's told me. So I really don't want to keep pushing, not knowing what's ahead of me. This rider here in this like blue and purple kit, his name's Morton. Morton's absolutely killing it all day long. In fact, he's been killing it all year long. Dude's super fit, super strong, especially in the hills here, and he's kind of been setting his own tempo. And when the hill or the grade is going up, he keeps that tempo going, and it just so happens to be way stronger than most of us really want to ride. So he gets these big gaps opened up. On the flatter sections, we come back together as we just saw there. Let's pause for a moment. Look at these roads, man. It is so nice, pristine pavement right here. Some sections were recently redone, and even those that weren't redone recently were still in great condition. Anyway, kudos to whoever maintains these roads. Absolutely awesome that a road this remote gets that kind of attention. Anyway, you can see this group of Masters riders in front of me. I've decided to let a gap open up, A, because my heart rate's telling me I have to, and B, there's no reason for me really to go with them. But bam, Vigo right here, he decides he'd rather ride with the faster Master riders. So I, of course, have to respond to this. Vigo's in my group. I'm racing against him. Sucks for me because now the heart rate's spiking even more, but we close it down pretty quick. But it's stuff like this that's really starting to get to me. There's been a lot of surging in this race so far, where the gaps will open up, and then all of a sudden someone has to chase it down, and if someone's in my category, I got to chase it down. So not really the ideal way to ride a hill like this. I prefer a much more steady tempo compared to the surging that's been going on. We're farther up the road now, and as you can see, we are moving. We have some riders. I'm not sure if they're Fondo riders or groups that started before us. We just kind of zip right past them, showing that the pace is still pretty high for the climb. And you start seeing these gaps opening up here. I am struggling to hold on to the wheel here. Again, all the surging, and of course, my lack of fitness have been hurting me. And we've lost quite a few riders, and I keep fearing that I'm the next one to pop off the back. Right now I'm just doing my best to hold on. Let's just point out a few differences in riding styles real quick. The rider right in front of me, young kid Vigo, very animated riding style right now. Looks very labored, putting a lot of effort in to turn the pedals, standing up a lot. And to be fair, I'm doing the exact same thing. I'm hurting, and I'm going to have to assume that he's also hurting. But he's also on junior gears, which are smaller than a compact even. So there's a number of reasons why Vigo's riding that way. But you can see the rider just drifted back to the left here. I'm talking to, that's Morton again. He's come back. He's like, how you doing, man? I'm like, I'm about to pass out. I'm about to give up the ghost, dude. He's like, come on, you got to just stick with the group. And let's look at Morton as he rides back to the front again. Very smooth. He's standing right now, but as he sits down, you just notice the difference between the two riders in front of me. Morton's well within his abilities right now. He's not hurting, or he's just not showing us that he's hurting. So he's prepared well. He's, like I said before, he has had a great year. Anyway, here's my moment, guys. We've all known it's been coming. Front groups going forward, and I ain't following, so my butt's just been dropped. I've had enough, and I've pulled the plug. My lack of fitness and just how hard the race has gone up to this point have zapped everything out of me, and I decided to try and ride in damage control, a little bit easier pace for me. It's flattened out, or it's about to flatten out, so I figured I'd try and get a little bit of recovery. Looking back, I honestly can say I probably could have held with this group and pushed through if I had known how much further it was until the turnaround point. Cycling is just as much a mental game as it is a physical one, but I didn't have that luxury or that knowledge. And honestly, I didn't have what it took to stay with the group. So even if I'd stayed with them, I would have got my butt dropped on Powder Mountain anyway. So in the end, it didn't matter. So I've caught, actually, no, I didn't catch this dude. This dude, he caught me, I won't lie. But we did catch a few others. Anyway, you'd come across some people who had either dropped off from that front group or had come from groups that started before or had been caught catching up since they'd been dropped. Anyway, you talk to them, it's like, hey, let's ride together. It's better to do this as a group than it is alone. But, sometimes another faster person would come up, so they would jump up and join them. So it really is still every man for himself on this climb. Another funny thing I saw was a dude I was riding with decided to join the Pro 1-2 women who had caught up and passed us. But the dude in the car was like the race referees, like, yeah, that's no, back off. You need to race in your own group. Generally, men and women can't race together unless their categories get mixed in, kind of like the Masters did with my group. Anyway, this rider who just went by, another one in blue and purple, his name's Breen. Really rad dude, and he's like, hey, let's ride together. And we actually do stick together for the rest of the race, so it was really nice to have company. We did make it to the turnaround point together and grab some snacks, and we did see the front group go by, but we decided they were too far ahead to really even dream about catching, especially on such a steep and long descent that wasn't really technical, and then following that, a bunch of flat riding. So we stick together and enjoy this absolutely beautiful descent. Super great roads, as we've mentioned already. Awesome weather. There really wasn't any wind until we got to the lower sections of the climb, so you really couldn't have asked for anything better in a race. For the most part, the descent was really uneventful, although it was beautiful. And we did have one really, really close call with a deer. The thing came out of nowhere from the left side of the road, and just like he was running so fast, his hooves were like sliding across the asphalt, and he almost took both of us out. It's one of the closest calls I've ever had with a deer, especially at these speeds. So luckily we got away, without a scratch. Nothing happened. We were a little more cautious throughout the rest of the descent, though. Another funny thing that happened was I kind of tucked down in my most narrow position, and when I looked back, I couldn't really see Breen. He had a big gap, right? And for some reason, probably for some aerodynamic reasons or weight, but I went down this hill a lot faster than Breen did. I didn't really want to drop him, of course, because we're working together and we still have a good distance to go to the final climb. But it's something I had to adapt to. So you can see I keep breaking out of Breen's slipstream. I'm not pedaling or anything, and I don't really want to use my own brake, so I just break out of the slipstream to use the air to slow me down so I don't zip past him. But it was really cool because I didn't have to pedal at all during this, because I'd go in front of him, I'd just get down real arrow, and that would provide him a slipstream to ride in. And when I wanted him to pass me, I just kind of sat up and let him pedal past me. So it kind of sucked that he had to pedal down the whole hill, where I really didn't have to until it flattened out. Here we're in the lower slopes of the descent, and we just went right past a rider who was sitting on the side of the road. He was in the front group, but for some reason decided to stop on the side of the road. I don't know if he had a flat or something, but he started pedaling to catch on to us, so we slowed down, let him jump on. Always better to have more people riding on the flats. You're always going to go faster than you would by yourself or in a group of two, so more than happy to have him jump on. So we have finally come to the end of the descent and are well onto the flat section of the course, and we've actually picked up one other rider here in the blue and brown. He is significantly taller than the rest of us, so I actually make sure I get behind this dude so I get the best draft I can. I believe, actually, when we got to the final climb, he told one of the other riders, who then told me that he didn't really have any interest in doing the last climb, so he just turned around and went home. And I actually think that there was a lot of that going on, because when I got the email that had the race results the other night, I mean, I've never seen so many DNF results. Like, tons of people didn't finish this thing, and I can only assume it's because they got to the climb. They're like, screw this, and maybe they made it part way up and turned around. But getting there, it's definitely going to be another hour climb for anyone who wasn't in that last group. So maybe they didn't think it was worth it. But yeah, so just bringing it on home to the last climb. It was great to have a few other riders jump in. I got a little bored, pulled out my camera, started talking to myself because I'm alone. Breen's gone up the road. And in fact, as we look at this sign right now, that's right, 16%, guys. Absolutely killer. I kind of talk to myself. I point back. I'm like, I'm glad I put a 32 on my rear cassette, man, because I'm gonna need it. Anyway, just I've been by myself. I expect to be by myself this whole climb. You can see I'm wearing a long sleeve skin suit here. It didn't really bother me. The heat wasn't bad there, and I've raced in that thing in the heat anyway, and it hasn't really bothered me. So yes, you can use long sleeves in summer races. You can see me here doing a little paper boy dance across the road, zigzagging. It's getting hard to stay upright. As you can see, I'm only going 4 miles an hour, right? At one point in this climb, I'm assuming it was during the steepest parts, my Garmin actually went into auto pause mode because it wasn't sensing enough speed, right? So that means it was going less than 2 miles an hour. I don't even know how I didn't fall over. A dude caught up to me, but then, he was in front of me. He had to unclip and put his foot down. Almost ran into the back of the dude, but I knew I didn't want to be in that situation because if you put your foot down, it basically becomes easier to do it again and again. And actually, I dropped that guy. I couldn't see him after a while because he kept stopping and taking a break. So my whole goal was to complete this climb without unclipping, no matter how slow I was going, even if the Garmin was pausing because I wasn't going fast enough. But absolutely brutal. I won't show you really any more of the climb just because it's me doing this. Just kind of zigzagging on the road, suffering until the end. And here we are, everyone, at the end of the Punisher ride, just rolling across the line. Absolutely brutal. I have really nothing left, and it took me a good hour after finishing to really feel like getting up and making my way down the climb. I got a ride from a friend. Breen and Morton coming to congratulate me. They did awesome. Morton got second in his race. I don't know where Breen came in, but he had a great climb up Powder Mountain. It was great riding with those two. Punish Ride, was held in place of the Tour Park City, so we might not see it again, but I wouldn't be surprised if they find a spot for it in the next year's calendar just because it was such a cool event. Again, great location. So if you're ever in Utah around August time, see if that event's on the calendar and definitely check it out. Anyway, that's it for today, guys. Thanks for watching the video. Let me know if you have any questions or if you just have any general comments about the race. Maybe if you were in the race in one of the other categories, let us know how that went. And I'll talk to you guys next time.